You do know that choosing the right market, the right industry, and the right niche for your business is going to ultimately be the kiss of life or death in your entrepreneurial success, don't you? I mean, there's a lot of talk out there about niching down and making sure that you're focused and you're being very specific as you pursue your entrepreneurial journey. And they're not lying in the least. Picking the right business niche for your business, for your idea, for your market, for your customer, but most importantly, for your life and your desires and your goals is a very important and very critical process. But how do you do it? What are the steps? How do you know you're doing the right thing? Let's talk about it today, and let's get to work. Hey there, my loves. Welcome back. So let's dive into this concept of the business niche or niche, whichever one you want to call it, and whether or not it's valuable. There's been lots of opinions all over the internet about whether or not a niche is important or critical to have. I am of the school of thought that it is 100% important to identify your niche and to definitely niche down. And that brings me to step number one in this entire dichotomy of choosing a good niche and knowing where your niche is you have to understand the power of the niche. Let me describe to you the power of this niche. Because if you don't niche your business idea, market down, you are going to be what I would say is taking a mass market approach. And that puts you in a category where you are ultimately battling larger businesses, ones with lots of money and lots of marketing magnitude. You niche down for a number of reasons, and one of them is just that. When you are starting out as an entrepreneur, when you are growing a small business, you have very limited marketing budget. You cannot compete with large corporations that have millions of dollars to pour into marketing. And that is how much money it will require if you are trying to reach large, massive audiences and large, massive markets. Can it be done? Yes, but it takes money to get that done. Money, 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 money. So the power of niching down allows you to focus your marketing dollars, focus your marketing efforts in one particular area and begin to slowly build that market until you can expand beyond that initial niche. That, my love, is the power of the niche. The second thing that I want you to remember is a phrase that I heard from Sunny Lenarduzzi, who is someone that I have followed for a long time. She's got an amazing channel here on YouTube, and she really does focus, her niche is teaching people how to grow marketing and grow brands on YouTube. And that was a very specific niche that has blown her up. And one of the things that she said to me very early on when I was first embarking upon this YouTube journey was, remember that the riches are in the niches. And that phrase stuck with me all of this time.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Because I too was in a space where I was very apprehensive about niching down and focusing in one particular area, because I felt like doing that was going to squelch my growth and stop me from being able to grow. I mean, who in their right mind, it's kind of counterintuitive to say, no, I want to focus on this particular area in order to get as wealthy and as successful as possible. And it was very, counterintuitive for me to actually believe that. And slowly, as I began to embrace that concept that the riches are truly in the niches, is when I really truly began to experience success. I want you to compare it to specializations, right? People pay for expertise. People pay for experts in certain areas. And I've used this analogy before, but it's very different. For a general practitioner, they make totally different money than a cardiologist, right? Neurologists, heart surgeons, those folks who focus in on particular things, specialists when it comes to medicine, make more money than general practitioners. It is a bottom line truth. The reason is because eventually people want to go to someone who specializes and has a real true expertise in something specific. And that's really what identifying a niche and pursuing a niche and focusing on a niche is. It is making it so that you are very specific and that you are building credibility in a specific area. And when you have that specificity, you will also have the success that goes along with it. Now let's talk about step number two. Step number two and being able to pick the perfect niche really is going to be exploring your options. After you have understood and come to grips with the idea that you really do need to kind of narrow things down so that you are not facing large competition and having this mass market that you're addressing, I want you to take a second look at the current business model or current business idea that you have, or the one that you are considering approaching. When you are doing that, you're going to explore those options. You're going to figure out what marketplace is ideally suited for your talents, what marketplace is going to really embrace what you're good at, and that also which marketplace and which niche really embraces what you love to do. You want to make sure that the business that you're pursuing is a combination of skills and talent and also passion. And I've talked about this in previous videos. I think I even talked about it last week and the week before that in this journey for folks, is because exploring these options is going to help you really define what's going on and then ultimately get you into step number three, which I'm going to get into with you right now. So step number three in this process of figuring out and identifying the perfect niche for your business is to evaluate the success factor. Yeah, and as you're evaluating this step, a big piece of that is to do your market research, right? You're going to figure out what's going on in the market, who your competitors are, who they're targeting, what they're charging, what they're offering, and if you and your idea is in line with that, because you want to thoroughly investigate that and get as much information as possible. And you want to make sure that as you're doing this market research, that the idea that you're moving forward with, the niche that you are trying to focus on, really has a proven demand built in, meaning that there are people out there who require what you're looking for, who have a need, who are facing pain points and challenges for what you're ultimately looking at doing. And again, that it is success factor wise going to potentially be profitable for you. Do not pick a niche or a market or an industry that is showing right now through your research that it is not profitable. I went through this process, ended up selling the business, closing the business, and changing it because at one point it was profitable, but then eventually due to legal things, due to legislation, due to government things, due to advocacy, it was no longer a profitable venture. And because the niche that I was in this particular business, and I've talked about this before in a different video where I was talking about, why I closed my business. So if you've not seen that video, please make sure that you check it out. I'll go ahead and link to it right now. One of the biggest reasons why I made that decision is because of the profitability and the success factor. It just didn't exist anymore in that niche. I was specifically focusing on small businesses, and all of a sudden legislation changed how much money I could make off of that industry. So I had to pivot and redirect my attention. So that is why evaluating the success factor of this niche that you are considering embarking upon is so important. You want to, again, investigate it, determine if there's a demand for it, and then ultimately determine if it's profitable and you can truly build a business where you can make some money around it. Now, if you are feeling me, please take a moment to like this video and leave me some questions and comments down below. I'll be happy to answer them, but let me know if this is really hitting that aha thing for you, because that is why I am here. That is why I am doing these videos. So give me a like and let me know what your thoughts are. Now, step number 4 in this entire process is to begin to get really narrow, right? Really narrow. There is definitely a fine line in discovering your niche. You can narrow it so much so that you eliminate a market, or you can also not go narrow enough where you are out there competing with the big boys, and you want to avoid that at all costs. So I want you to think about uncovering your ideal business niche like drilling for oil, right? Drilling for oil. You have to dig down really deep in the right marketplace, or one that's matching your interest and your skills, to find the perfect niche for your business. When you've done that, you have struck oil. But if you're digging for oil and you haven't found the exact spot, you can move over, like 5 feet and never strike oil and never actually achieve that success. So I want you to focus on getting really narrow. Find out everything there is to know about the customer in that niche and the prospects that are in that niche. When you identify the client traits and characteristics, who they are, what their pain points are, what their challenges are, the psychographics, the demographics, you begin to see kind of sub niches inside of that overall niche. So when people talk about discovering your niche, I don't think that they ever get into this enough, which is why I'm bringing it up now. There is a niche or a marketplace, let's just say HR consulting, right? And then inside of HR consulting, there are sub niches. And that is where I want you to kind of go. I want you to go into that sub niche and identify really truly what you're good at, what comes natural to you. When you're in your flow, what can you get done really easily? What can you speak to without even having to think about it? That is that sub niche. So inside of HR consulting, there is recruiting. There is, employee grievances and discipline. There is leadership. There is career coaching. There is, so many sub niches. And that is where I want you to go. Once you have identified the general one and the previous steps, this is the step where I want you to go even a layer deeper and really identify where you fit into the sub niches that are a part of your niche. That is where you will discover your unique value proposition and what you can really bring to the table. Do not keep it so general that you are still missing the clarity that you need to plow forward, that you are still missing the clarity that you need to get the business stuff done and to provide value. So making sure that you're narrowing it down in this step is important. And looking at that sub niche is going to be even more important. So go down one more layer, my love, just one more layer, and you will be well on your way to identifying the perfect niche. And step number 5 is to keep refining, honestly, to never stop evaluating whether or not you're in the right place and what pivots and changes you may need to make. It is extremely important to constantly monitor every aspect of your business, as well as the niche and the competition that you are in and facing. I can give you a couple of examples where companies did not do this piece and they ultimately failed miserably. One of them is Eastman Kodak. If you guys are too young to even know what I'm talking about, then I'm saying, okay. But those of you who are like my age or older know who Kodak is. You remember Kodak? It was once the undeniable leader in photographic film, right? And 1990s digital photography was made commercially available. Everybody started moving to digital photography. So Kodak was more about, the Polaroids and the film and being able to take it somewhere. You would back in the day, you used to take this film out of the camera, you would put it in an envelope, you would take it to a place that would develop the film, and then ultimately you would get pictures. Well, in the 90s, digital photography became a big deal. And people started realizing the convenience of digital photos. I don't need to pull no film out. I don't need to take it to a store and do all of that stuff. I can literally just upload or have pictures right then and there that are instantly available to me. And the physical film to capture pictures with a camera kind of began to wane. And Eastman Kodak did not continue to focus and refine. They did not stay abreast. They did not make the necessary changes and pivots that were required for them to stay the undeniable leader. Because of this, when they did begin offering digital cameras and making products around this new initiative in the market, in order to make sure that they could maintain their market share, they were unsuccessful. And whether you know it or not, because a lot of you may be wondering, whatever happened to Kodak? They ended up in 2012 filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy, believe it or not, as big as they were, filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy as a result of their inability to consistently reassess their niche definition and where they wanted to be a powerhouse. That is why this step is so important for you to keep in the back of your mind and make a part of your annual growth strategy. Every single year, I evaluate what I am doing. who I am targeting, what niche I am in, what my competitors are doing, what technological advances and innovations are required in order for me to move forward. If I don't do that on an annual basis, I might be too late. Just like Blockbuster. You guys have heard me talk about Blockbuster before. If you're too young to know what Blockbuster is, whole different story. But if you aren't, you know Blockbuster used to have like a lock on movies, on the movie thing, on a movie rental. And then all of a sudden, Netflix came out and all of these places where you could just click a button on your TV and you don't have to go somewhere and rent a movie. And how many Blockbusters do you see in your neighborhood today? I'm waiting. I've got patience. Tell me how many you see. None, right? Because they too did not change and pivot based upon that reassessment, based upon that continuing to refine. So you can't resist change. And this particular step is designed to make sure that you don't. There is no need to change simply for the sake of changing. Do not interpret what I'm telling you to do as that. No need to change simply for the sake of changing. But you should not resist refreshing, updating, moving, pivoting, and changing your offerings to make sure that they are still meeting that market demand and that you are still in the right niche. So that is why this step is so important. It is critical to continue to refine, to continue to evaluate, and not to ultimately become complacent in the space that you're in, because that complacency could be the kiss of death for your entrepreneurial journey. Let's recap these steps in order for you to identify the perfect business niche. Number one, understand the power of the niche. Absolutely critical for you to wrap your mind around why it's so important. Number two, explore all of your options. Do your market research. Consider looking at your current business model. Are you doing the right thing? Is it what you love to do? Evaluate that success factor. Step number three is evaluating it. Is it profitable for you? Is there a proven demand? Do you know the market well enough to make sure that you're there? Step number four, get really narrow. Try to find the sub niche so that you can save even more money from a marketing perspective and really narrow down who you're targeting and really become a specialist in what you're doing. And number five, keep refining, keep double checking, keep checking in, and be ready to pivot and to change. Again, if you enjoyed today, if you got a lot out of it, if I was helpful at all, make sure that you like, that you share, and that you subscribe. Check out that business idea validation toolkit. It is a game changer, and finally will teach you exactly how to research and figure out this niche that we are talking about. You are here because you're in that space, and that toolkit is going to help you. The link is in the description below. And until next time, my loves, I will see you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Stay safe. Bye-bye.